This call is now being recorded.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Again, in this session on post-colonial studies and post-colonial criticism. In our last two sessions, we talk about post-colonial studies. In a much wider way, we try to look at what is post-colonial studies. And in our last session, we looked at how the meta-narratives are being questioned. Question means we can say rejected. The meta-narratives of the European imperialist is being rejected, and how rewriting of those narratives happen in various works that we have seen. We also have seen that how hybridization is being celebrated in this, and how the contact of various cultures gives us a new identity in terms of hybrid culture, hybrid society, hybrid fashions, hybrid clothing habits, and hybrid language also, and hybrid literature. That point we will again today also talk in our point on post-colonial criticism also. So this points that we discussed in our last lecture, and we try to give examples also from various literary text or say cinema also. So we try to look at how the post-colonial mind is still internally subjugated to the notions of colonialism, and so how to a greater extent unknowingly we may also think the way perhaps we were supposed to think as a colonial agent. So have we really lost our agency as an individual, or we are just the subject of the colonial identity? So when we see our creative processes at that time, because while we are observing the creative process, we are at our unconscious, and at unconscious it is very difficult to be unreal, at an unconscious level. So literary production, dreams, they all are considered as something where the subconscious and the unconscious plays a very vital role rather than our conscious self. So there, and that's why we have seen this films like English Winglish or Queen, where when the characters are drawn or brought together, characters from different cultures are brought together in one film, then how or what are we doing with those characters? Why still we have, or we can say our creative mind still have a kind of an obsession for the white people. We still consider them white as a fair skin, white as handsome, white as intelligent, white as superior in many ways. That still, if we consider that, then how can we decolonize our mind? That question we can see when we study the frames of some of the frames of these two films also. We also have seen that how Jane Eyre's novel is being retold in Sargasso Sea, which is in your syllabus, or how Daniel Defoe's Robinson Crusoe is being questioned by J.M. Coetzee's work, Foe, which you are going to study in detail as a part of syllabus also. How The Tempest and Hamlet, written by Shakespeare, has also been retold, though Tom Stoppard do not retell Hamlet in context of post-coloniality, but he takes into absurdity, into the realm of absurdity and existentialism, whereas Amy Césaire takes that in realms of post-coloniality. A Tempest is the French play which is written by Amy Césaire, which is retelling. We have seen about so this all example speaks about subaltern identity, which internalizes the colonial discourse in that. So these were the points which we discussed yesterday as a part of post-colonial studies. We also referred to the work Orientalism by Edward Said, which played a very vital role. The theory of deconstruction played a very important role in this, which again is a separate topic that we are going to study in the paper on criticism. So then again we will come back to the arguments which are making here in these studies. And obviously Althusser's reading of the theory of ideology by this rereading of Karl Marx also plays a vital role in these studies. So today we want to see specifically from post-colonial studies to post-colonial criticism, and in this we find that there are some important seminal works which opened up we can say window to post-colonial literary criticism. When we see post-colonial studies, we also keep in mind that it is actually a branch of political science. So from that it becomes a study of culture, study of societies, and an identity in culture and in society. And from there, when we come down or try to narrow down to literature, a study of literature, then we see that there are some seminal works which played a very vital role. In that we find first edition of Selden's first edition of the work, A Reader's Guide to Contemporary Literary Theory, published in 1985. So around 1990s, it is believed that this new category emerges in the field of literary criticism. This new category emerges around 1990s in the field of literary criticism. New way of reading the literature of bygone ages, also the contemporary literature. And this work, Selden's Reader's Guide to Contemporary Literary Theory, 1985, or Jeremy Hawthorne's A Concise Glossary of Contemporary Literary Theory, published in 1992, also had opened up the floodgates for post-colonial criticism. And then it gained its currency through the influence of the works like written by Gayatri Spivak, In Other Worlds, that is 1987, and a very important work, The Empire Writes Back. The Empire Writes Back by Bill Ashcroft and other writers, 1989. A very important work is Culture and Imperialism by Edward Said, Culture and Imperialism, which we are going to refer one essay from that book as an example when at the end of the day we are going to discuss that. Culture and Imperialism by Edward Said, and a seminal work which gave a new dimension, or we can say the third phase of post-coloniality or post-colonial criticism emerged from this work, and that is Homi K. Bhabha's work, Nation and Narration, 1990, which opened up the third phase of post-colonial criticism. And remember Homi Bhabha, popularly we remember Homi Bhabha as the one who is the father of Indian atomic science. Yes, Homi Bhabha is remembered as atomic, but this is not that scientist. This Homi Bhabha is not that Homi Bhabha who is known for atomic invention or atomic science and the India story about the atomic progress there. This is a critic. This is a living critic. Is working in an American university also, and he is a post-colonial critic. Homi Bhabha has no relation with that Homi Bhabha who is connected with the atomic research and science. Okay, so this is how it opens up this phase. And then in America, there is obviously the concern about race. So that dimension also opens up. Post-colonial criticism obviously starts with questioning the masters, which are white people, which are the European imperialist masters, which are questioned, and then it comes down slowly and steadily into the realm where within our own culture, who were the masters? Even like when you start going beyond the British Raj. So there is a very interesting argument here is to be nativist. Go back to your roots. Be native. Now, when you go back, and so you want to overlap the time, you say that, well, 1800, that is 19th century, that the Europeans started coming here. Let me jump to the 18th century, the 17th century, the 16th century, beyond that, when there were no British people here. And then my culture was pure culture, pure in inverted comma. My culture was pure before it got polluted by the white people. Before it got polluted by the white people came, their ideas came, their religion came, and then my religion, my culture, society, everything got polluted. So let me go beyond that and try to see that what was the form of purity, purity of life, when my culture was only my culture. Obviously, for Indians, we have to go from there beyond the Mughal Raj also, beyond the time of Genghis Khan who attacked, or beyond all those times where there were only Hindu rulers in India. We have to go to that time also. So we can go beyond 7th century where there is no Islam at all, because Muhammad Paigambar is born in 7th century. We can go beyond that. And beyond that, there was not such a tremendous influence of Christianity over the world also. So you jump over those time and you try to think that, well, when Chanakya was there, Chandragupta Maurya was there, when Ashok was there, and beyond that, when Kauravas and Pandavas, or when there was Ram Rajya in Satyug. So when you go back and then you find that, well, that was a beautiful time. That was an ideal utopian time where our culture was our culture, and our culture was absolutely unpolluted by any of the influence of outsiders. That is the time which we start craving for. We want to go back there. Now, when we do that, we obviously start, because this theories, once they make their passage in our mind, it is not possible that we can think about anything without the influence of these theories. This theory gave us a tool or a lens to question the European imperialist masters. But then that lens remains. You go beyond that time. You go beyond the time when there were neither the Muslim nor the Christian rulers in India. I deliberately named the religion because religion also is an important part of our culture. And so we don't only see that it is only East India Company. It is not only the East India Company. We can see it as an East India Company also when we do Marxist discourse. When we say there is a company that is coming and a company is exploiting the people, that we can see, which obviously is connected with all forms of companies in all the time. How companies come and exploit. What is the role of a company in doing a private company? And then the outsider ruler also. But once I get that lens in my mind to look at the thing, and afterwards, even if I go beyond this time of the outsiders in terms of Christians or Muslims or Mughals, beyond that, then also that lens will always be with me. You know that when we do the operation of cataract, what we call it in Gujarati, cataract, eyes.
Motio.
Motio, yes. Motio utariye kahiye. So when we do the operation of cataract, a small lens is put in the eye. Lens is put in the eye, so we get a clarity of vision. Now that remains with us forever. That lens remains forever in our eyes. Now you can't remove. Now you get a lens of this post-colonial argument, which is deconstructive also, which has this Marxist ideology also interwoven into this. Then you start questioning who were the masters then, when there were no Mughal master, when there was no East India Company, when there was no Queen Victoria. Still, then who were the masters? Then you start questioning those masters, those power structures. So in one of our previous discussion, we have seen that, well, in India, you will find that larger part of history is covered with the story that the Kshatris and the Brahmins, they joined their hands to rule over the other people. So by and large, they were at the top of the ladder, top of the pyramid, top of the social pyramid or cultural pyramid was controlled by the Brahmins and the Kshatris. If we see that we are using the terms which are about Chatur Varna Vyavastha. Otherwise, you can also say it is a religious leader, and the king is ruling. So when you say about European history, then you say that religious leader and the kings were having a nexus, because it was the religious leader who told to the people that this person is chosen by the God. This person, this king is chosen by the God. So you should bow down to this king. So there is a beautiful nexus between a religious guru and the king. When we have studied the European history, Macbeth and other things, at that time we referred to this. The same way in India, we name it more clearly to make point more clear, rather than covering our language with king or queen or religious guru. We can directly call it that Kshatriya and Brahmins, by and large, they were in controlling positions there. So obviously what will happen is that you will start questioning those power structures also, that how these power structures manipulated themselves, how they said, or they told us that what we say is right, what we do is right, like the white people were doing that, what we say, what we do, our knowledge is our knowledge, your knowledge is not your knowledge, our allopathy is the medicine, your Ayurveda is not the medicine. And if you want to come here, you can't drink kadha and come to America. You will have to take a vaccine, then only you can enter America. You say, I am drinking kadha every day, I am drinking this Giloy. Giloy, what will go? લીમડાના ગળાનો ઉકાળો કરીને લોકો પીને કે હું 6 મહિનાથી પીઉં છું, આ મારા ફોટા. Americans will not allow you to enter. That no, you have to take vaccine. So that is what master is controlling. The European American master of the day is controlling that what we should do and what we shouldn't do. But then the same way, what were the controls of the other people within the culture? The same way in America also, what was the status of black people? What was the status of slaves, black people, and how they were under the control of the white people? So race comes at the center. Race, Writing and Difference, 1986, edited by Henry Louis Gates Jr., best known American figure in the field. That reference comes, and it helps even in India in reading the subjugation or subalternity of some of the castes, historical subjugation, historical, and this word historical is very important. It is not only that one generation or a few people, but historical subjugation of some castes which used to happen for quite a long time. That can also be seen in the context there. Okay, so this works comes with the idea, and post 1990 a new chapter opens in literary criticism, which we call it as post-colonial criticism. Now what happens here? What are the basic tenets that we see here in this reference? The first thing that we will see here in this is in post-colonial criticism, the characteristics of this criticism, when we try to see the concerns of post-colonial criticism. What are the concerns? This, and the first point that we see here is about undermining the universalist claims, undermining the universalist claims. We can say that in this term that universalism is rejected. So the first thing that we see here is in this concern is that the universalism of literature is rejected, in this reading. Yes. So now see, the very canon of literature comes under scanner. The very canon that now when we were talking about what is literature, remember in the beginning of first semester, when we were debating what is literature, the very important characteristics of literature was universality. Literature is universal. It is permanent. It is permanent. So it is this, and it is not of one age but of all ages. It is not of one time but all time. All those arguments that were made about literature, that was framing the definition of literature, that literature is something that is universal, that notion is rejected. So see, now connect this with what we were discussing earlier, that you have to reframe the canons of everything. Canon, C-A-N-O-N. Canon means rules, controlling definitions. That all needs to be reframed. You have to change the language of discourse. Without changing the language, you won't be able to have your say in this post-colonial world. For that, you have to, whatever definitions were given by masters, whatever way the language was used by masters, that all is to be rejected, that all is to be questioned. That is very important. So it is very important also to see that you have to question the very definition of everything in that process. So as a part of that, without that you can't change. So you are changing the definition, you are rejecting the definition of literature, which was very popular till then, and it says that literature is universal. Now you say that, well, that claim is rejected. What are the arguments for this? Why this, and what happens because of this? I read a paragraph there. If we claim that great literature, by liberal humanist critics, if we claim that great literature has a timeless and universal significance, we thereby demote, we undervalue something, we demote or disregard cultural, social, regional, and national differences in experience and outlook, preferring instead to judge all literature by a single, supposedly universal standard. So when we see this, so when I see Hamlet as struggling for something, if I say that, well, Hamlet's story is everybody's story, it is my story, but then I forget that, well, I am not a prince. Hamlet was a prince. His material condition was different. A prince ne બધા નાના મોટા નખરા કરવા પરવડે, આપણને એવા નખરા ન પરવડે. આપણે તો જે યુવાન રોજી રોટી માટે દર રવિવારની પરીક્ષાની રાહ જોતો હોય, એ પોતાની જાતને હેમ્લેટ સાથે કેમ સરખાવી શકે? હેમ્લેટને ક્યાં કમાવાની ચિંતા હતી? તો બીજા જેને કમાવાની રોજની ચિંતા હોય, એની સાથે કેમ જોઈ શકે? So that is that question that you start. So Aristotle said that tragic hero should be king or queen. Now it means that I can never be a tragic hero. The people like me can never be tragic heroes. Like our lives has no tragedy at all, as if our lives has no tragedy. Our life is just like ants. કીડી મકોડા જેવું જીવન હોય એવું આ સાહિત્યમાં લાગે. આ સાહિત્યમાં એવું લાગે કે આપણે તો બસ કીડી મકોડા જેવું જીવન જીવવા માટે સર્જાયા હોય તે. So that is, so experience, outlook, everything. So nothing is as such universal. So the example here is given that if you read Thomas Hardy, and if you read his work, and you find that what Thomas Hardy is depicting is Wessex novels, all the problems about history of the time, masculinity of the time, working class people, and whatever. Does it mean that that is universal, that is for everybody? Well, you will say no. My Saurashtra is much different from the Wessex. It may have superstitions and cultures and traditions and agriculture and everything similar to the Wessex novel, because I think most of you might have studied Far From the Madding Crowd also. Yes, Far From the Madding Crowd. So you know that there is a very similar agricultural life in Far From the Madding Crowd, which is connected with the Saurashtra life, as you read the Gujarati novel also. but still that experience is not universal. It is not everybody's experience. It is much different there. Many times we have referred to this example also, that even now see, we at parallel level, we also try to bring some examples from the contemporary time also, that because in our time, how do we utilize this when we try to look at the popular culture, the contemporary happenings. So let me recall this film which we were we referred several times, this A Dil Hai Mushkil. In this film, A Dil Hai Mushkil, there is a story like about the people who are suffering from breakups, various kinds of breakups and other kinds of thing. And but we have seen that it is a very rich class people. Those people are easily flying into foreign country. They can quickly fly into a foreign country. One of the characters that is played by Aishwarya Rai in that film, and she is a poet. She is a poet in the film, and she writes. And the husband, who now do not have a good relation with the husband, who is an artist, who lives also in a foreign country and is having a gallery show also. Now she had a kind of a breakup with the husband, lives, and very soon on an airport find another young fellow also. And within 5 minutes, they are waking up in a 5-star hotel. In a 5-star hotel bedroom, they both are waking up. Now, what is mushkil for dil in this condition? Why your dil is in mushkil? That is the question that we can ask. You can easily find the people whom you want to sleep. You are rich enough to buy a room in a 5-star hotel. You can travel in aeroplane. You can go from one country to another country. Why is your dil in mushkil? Then what about our mushkil? આપણે તો આપણી મુશ્કેલી કહેવાની જ નહીં આમાં. આપણે તો કહે કે તમારો રોના ધોના બંધ કરો, તમારા દિલમાં શું મુશ્કેલીઓ હોય. So how you question this narrative? Now people say this is India. Now if people say this is India, and if I connect myself with that film, then how can I connect? How can I say that, well, this is a very super rich India, and I'm not a part of that super rich India. It is not that, but so many people from middle class, lower middle class, they also watch that film and start connecting that, well, we all are like this. No, you are not like that. How can we differentiate this narrative? The narrative about us. This is the narrative about us. This is the narrative of India also. And then you have a completely altogether another very poor India also being portrayed. If Satyajit Ray's film, if you watch Satyajit Ray, a very great filmmaker and a writer also. Satyajit Ray is a good writer of literature, and his short story also. He has written short stories, and nowadays on Netflix, one series is very popular. People are talking a lot about that. The name is Ray, R-A-Y. R-A-Y, and that is based on the short stories of Satyajit Ray. Satyajit Ray's short stories. So while I was going through that, there is a very interesting third. I think there are 4 stories which are being filmed. There, the third one is very interesting, very interesting one. And people said that the third one is one of the best among the 4 short stories which are converted into the web series also, and worth watching also. The third one is very interesting and worth watching also. So Satyajit Ray's film, if you watch, then it is India of poverty. Now people do debate that whose India is correct India, Karan Johar's India or Satyajit Ray's India or Anurag Kashyap's India. Anurag Kashyap's India also is there, where there is gangs of Wasepur, kind of gang war and other thing going on constantly. That also is the India. Well, I can say that, well, I am not a part of Satyajit Ray's India. I am also not the part of Karan Johar's India. I am also not part of this Anurag Kashyap's India, which is normally located among the gang wars among UP, Bihar kind of locations also. I can feel that, well, people like me are in narratives like this Masurkar's film Sherni or Newton. There you may find those people. Or you may also find in Kota Factory, the young people, today's middle class young people who want to make something good out of their jobs by doing jobs and better their economical condition. Whatever economical condition their parents were, they want to see that they make something better out of that. So what they have to do? They have to study. They have to study ultimately and pass some exams. And so quota factory or this aspirants perhaps is speaking in a very significant way of those. So how we identify the narratives around that, and how, so which one is universal? We can say, well, none of the narratives are universal. None of the narratives, neither aspirants nor Ray nor quota factory nor Cherny or Newton or Karan Johar's India, or none of those things are universal. They all speak at one corner and an experience of a particular thing that is always there in literature. None of the, even if you take this to epic poems, so Homer's epic poem or Virgil's epic poem or Dante's poem or Westland or Ramayana or Mahabharata, even they are not universal. They also are speaking about somebody. We have seen that the Westland, which seems to be speaking for the entire European civilization in the 20th century, seems to be only a home affair. It seems to be like Eliot's wife had an affair with somebody, and so he had a problem with the sexual perversion of the women in the society. And he said that this is the terrible disease of that. It may just only be a case of your wife only. It may not be with everybody also. So that way, this counter narratives are given in this concept to reject the idea. So this universalism is rejected by post-colonial criticism. Whenever a universal signification is claimed for a work, then white Eurocentric norms and practices are being promoted by a sleight of hand to this elevated status, are being promoted, and all other correspondingly relegated to subsidiary marginalized roles also. Okay? So this is one important point that becomes significant here. And as an example for this, the work by Fanon, Franz Fanon, Fanon's work, The Wretched of the Earth, which also you are going to study thoroughly in another unit. The Wretched of the Earth, published in 1961, which speaks about cultural resistance. Fanon, who also is a psychiatrist from Martinique, argued that the first step for colonized people in finding a voice and an identity is to reclaim their own past. For centuries, the European colonizing power will have devalued the nation's past, seeing its pre-colonial era as an pre-civilized limbo or even as a historical void. Children, both black and white, will have been taught to see history, culture, and progress as beginning with the arrival of the Europeans. If the first step towards a post-colonial perspective is to reclaim one's own past, then the second is to begin to erode the colonial ideology by which the past has been devalued. So that these arguments which are coming from this book, which becomes very interesting to put in a proper context here. But at the same time, what Fanon has said has also been exploited in a post-colonial countries by the new powers, that is the local powers. Now when the local power come into the thing, at that time how the local power also exploits the very argument that Fanon is making. One has to be alert to that also. One has to be alert to that. So it is good to say that, well, go beyond the European power, try to rewrite your history books, change your syllabus, don't teach what Europeans was writing about your history, change your history syllabus and all those kinds of things. Well, fine, that is what is to be done. But while that is happening, what is coming instead of that in history books? How are you interpreting history? That all is also very important. Is that new power is rewriting the history or including the chapters in the school syllabus in such a way that they can also exploit the people in a different way? Is that mechanism happening simultaneously or not? That also is very, very important to be observed. With the same lens, we have to question that when the new power, that is the democratically elected new power in all these worlds, when they are in the process of making new icons, new heroes, new history, erasing history, rewriting history, making change in the syllabus, including new chapters at that time. This all becomes very important and very interesting to be observed also. That's why with this insight, with this question to what Fano wanted to say, we always try to see the making of the statue of Sardar Patel also. That why some political party or the government may be very much interested into making the statue of unity, Sardar Patel's statue. Why are they very much? Sardar Patel was a congressman. He was very much a congressman. But then how that Congress icon can be appropriated by altogether another party, and what goes into that? How far the people will be able to read beyond the statements which are made. Making a statue is a statement. Statue is a language. And how can you question the making of the statue of Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, also by the different political party and the people. At the same time, people also question that how now people will start looking at 25th December also. You will see that 25th December, which obviously is considered or remembered as Christmas, will also soon be celebrated more as the birthday of yet another political leader. And and slowly and steadily, perhaps we will remember that 25th December is more of the birthday of Atal Bihari Vajpayee rather than of somebody like the Christmas celebration. So how that rewriting is going on, and when again the 25th December will come, we'll try to read newspaper and we'll try to see what is happening, what kind of language is emerging, wherein this also is happening. So that all can be a very interesting question that we can see in that process. Orientalism was the another book also, which also is referred here in this point to see that. The second point of which is very important in this discussion, the second concern here is the second concern is about language. How we see the language there. And obviously we are going to see this language in the paper of criticism about how structuralist and then post-structuralist people like Saussure, from there to Derrida, they have tried to see the language and how the language is made up of signs, different kinds of signs, which has a mixture of signifier and signified. Signified, and all these terms we are thoroughly going to study in paper of criticism also. So this again is a point which is to be connected with our study of a unit in criticism as well as in cultural studies also. But language is at the center. Language is something very, very important to be seen here, that how it is operating in different ways. To see this dynamics of language, let me refer to the example from just that book. Let me refer from this book that is Ani Alumba's book, which we are going to discuss two essays from this. But in the initial part, which is not a part of our syllabus directly, but when she starts talking about this situating colonialism in a proper context, at that time what she is discussing, that is a very important point of language here. Yeah, so in this chapter, situating colonial and post-colonial studies, the beginning of this book, the very discussion, this discussion begins, it begins with the definition of colonialism. What? So it refers to that defining the terms colonialism, imperialism, neocolonialism, postcolonial. Now, so very important point that we see here is that first and foremost you have to question these words, and so you have to see what are the definitions, and then you have to see if there are any loopholes in the definitions. If there are any gaps in the definition, then those gaps are to be seen, those gaps, or what way it is to be seen. So you are questioning the definition of everything. Now see the process. Normally what we see, we don't know something, we go to dictionary, but we never question the definition of the word in dictionary. We won't do that. Now when you study postcolonial studies, you will develop that well, whatever dictionary is telling me, can I question that? Can I doubt that word? Is it possible that there can be some kind of hiding of something in the making of definition? કોઈ વ્યાખ્યા લખતા જાય ત્યારે શું એ કાંઈ છુપાવી દેતા હોય એવું બની શકે? We have seen earlier that language is more used to hide, to curtain, than to reveal. એ પણ એક પાસું છે ભાષાનું, કે ભાષા હંમેશા વ્યક્ત થવા કે દેખાડવા માટે નથી હોતી, છુપાવવા માટે પણ હોય છે. પડદા તરીકે પણ લોકો ઉપયોગ ભાષાનો કરતા હોય. તો એ રીતે ભાષા દ્વારા આપણે કઈ વસ્તુ છુપાવી શકીએ, સંતાડી શકીએ, અને એ હિસ્ટોરિકલી જો એવું કરી શકીએ આપણે તો આખી દુનિયા બદલી શકીએ. આપણે દુનિયાના આવનારા લોકો દુનિયા કઈ રીતે જોવાના છે એ બધું આપણે બદલી શકીએ જો આજે તમારા કંટ્રોલમાં ભાષા હોય તો. ઇફ લેંગ્વેજ ઇઝ અંડર your control, you can change the way the world is to be seen by the future, and that is how you control the future. That is what George Orwell says as a concept of newspeak. Newspeak એટલે નવી ભાષા જે જોર્જ ઓરવેલના 1984 માં બને છે તેમાં એ જ વાત છે કે if you will control the language, if you will define everything, એટલે સમાચાર એવા હોય કે જે રાશન આપવાનું છે લોકોને એ હવે 10 ગ્રામ ઓછું થશે, 10 ગ્રામ ઓછું આપવામાં આવશે. એને બદલે તમે એવા સમાચાર આપો કે હવે 20 ગ્રામ આપવામાં આવશે. પેલા 30 ગ્રામ આપવાનું હતું પણ એ ભૂલાવી દો તમે, એમ કે એટલે લોકોને થાય કે ઓહો આપણને એટલું બધું રાશન મળવાનું છે, એવી ભાવના છાપું વાંચીને મળે કે આ તો આપવાના છે આપણને. પણ એ ત્યારે પેલું છુપાવી દે કે પેલા તમને 30 આપતા હતા, હવે 20 કરી નાખ્યું છે. હવે જે ચોકલેટના રાશનની વાત એ ફિલ્મમાં પણ હતી અને નવલકથામાં પણ છે કે કઈ રીતે તમે સમાચાર બદલી નાખો, કઈ રીતે એ બદલી શકો. And in this process, very interesting thing you can see in nowadays is about vaccination in India. If you are following the story of vaccination in India, you will understand this in a very interesting way. Suddenly people half-page advertisements were coming that government of India will give free vaccination to everybody, and then it is written Dhanyavad Modi ji, Dhanyavad Modi ji everywhere. So now that was very surprising that well governments for many years are giving free vaccinations. પોલિયો હોય, ટીબી માટેની દવા પણ કેટલી મફત આપે છે. પણ you have never seen this language that you are told or people are saying or tweeting or writing anything and telling ધન્યવાદ પ્રાઇમ મિનિસ્ટર. It was never. અત્યાર સુધી ક્યારેય આવું યાદ નથી કે સરકારે તો લોકોનું કામ કરવાનું જ હોય, એમાં ધન્યવાદ શું? હું એક લેક્ચર લઈને પછી તમને કહું કાલે તમારે બધાએ પોસ્ટ કરવાનું છે, ધન્યવાદ દિલીપ સર, તો કેવું લાગે કે ભાઈ તમે તમારું કામ કરો છો, તમે ભણાવો છો તો ઉપકાર થોડા કરો છો મારી ઉપર. You are doing your work. તો એમાં શું રોજ ધન્યવાદ કરવાનું? So this language, so when that language will be widespread, people will get that well, because these documents will remain for so many years. We will not be here. આપણે નહીં હોઈએ અહીંયા, પણ એ દસ્તાવેજો પડ્યા હશે. અને પછી કદાચ કોઈ એવું લખશે કે ઓ કોઈ એક વિરલો હતો ભારતમાં, એને આખા ભારતને વેક્સિનેટ કરેલું હતું, જાણે એ પોતે એકલો હાથમાં ઇન્જેક્શન લઈને જતો હોય અને 135 કરોડ લોકોને પકડીને એકલા હાથે જ જેમ આપ્યું હોય એવું લાગે. અને કદાચ કોઈ બાહુબલી જેવી ફિલ્મ બનાવે તેમાં બતાવી પણ દે કે એકલો માણસ જતો હોય હાથમાં વેક્સિનેશન લઈ અને આખા દેશમાં એ એકલા હાથે વેક્સિનેશન કરતું હોય. આવું એક રૂપક બનાવી દેવા. સાહિત્ય રૂપકોનું બન્યું હોય, અતિશયોક્તિ અલંકાર સાહિત્યમાં હોય. પણ એ ઘટના બનતી હોય ત્યારે કેવી હોય અને એનું નેરેશન થાય ત્યારે આખી કઈ રીતે બદલાઈ જતી હોય. બટ લેંગ્વેજ ઇઝ વેરી ઇન્ટરેસ્ટિંગ. So obviously there was a phase in this vaccination program કે ત્યાં સરકાર તરફથી રાજ્ય સરકારને એવું કહેવામાં આવ્યું કે તમે વેક્સિનેશન આપજો અને આટલા રૂપિયા આપીને તમે ખરીદજો અને લોકો પાસેથી લઈ અને પછી તમે આપજો. This was also told. And then what was there? Why suddenly this came? Why suddenly this new language came? Because Supreme Court told that if you have put some 35,000 crore rupees for vaccination in the budget, what are you going to do with that money? Give us hisab apo. Pachi suddenly the policy changed. And now how do we read all this language? The language is very important to be read in those things. That is where this in post-colonial argument. Now that is why I told you that, well, you are here to read what the imperialist masters were doing, but you can't escape from reading what today's masters are doing. You can't escape from reading how today's masters are also using the language, what they are doing to subjugate people, what kind of narratives are they creating out of nothing. They create a beautiful narrative and beautiful headlines for the newspapers and to make something viral on social media. How they generate those things at all you can see through, because you have now તમે પેલો મોતિયો ઉતરાવી લીધો છે અને આ પોસ્ટ કોલોનિયલ ના લેન્સ ચડાવી દીધા છે. પોસ્ટ કોલોનિયલ ના, પોસ્ટ સ્ટ્રક્ચરલિઝમ ના, કલ્ચરલ સ્ટડીઝ ના, ડેરિડા ના, મિશેલ ફુકો ના, જ્યાં લકાના, એ બધાના લેન્સ અંદર ચડી ગયા. પછી એના વગર જોઈ શકાતું નથી. પછી જે વ્યક્તિ એ મોતિયો ન ઉતાર્યો હોય એની જેમ જોવું શક્ય બનતું નથી. It becomes nearly impossible to see like the normal human being. નોર્મલ આંખો હવે રહી જ ન હોય કે નોર્મલ લોકોની જેમ એ બધી વસ્તુ જોઈ શકાય. So the first question, the language, this, and how we see here that what happens in this as that. Okay, so see, colonialism, Oxford English Dictionary comes from the Roman colonia. It defines this term. It comes from colonia, which means farm or settlement, and referred to Romans who settled in other lands but still remained their citizens. According to OED, it describes colonialism, a settlement in a new country, a body of people who settle in a new locality, forming a community subject to or connected with their parent state, and so kinds of things. Now what is question in this definition? What is definition? Is that is it really a settlement or it is unsettlement? It is more than a settlement. It is unsettlement, because when an outsider comes and starts living with the local people, obviously there will be conflict. And so the people who were there happily living with their culture, their food, their clothes, their religion, their customs, now suddenly outsider comes and everything is judged in a different way. Okay, why are you doing this? What is the purpose? And then there are more problems. So you are more unsettled. It's not a settlement, it is unsettlement. So very first word is problematic there. And then it says a new country. Now it is not a new country, it is already somebody's country. Somebody is already living there. It is new for an outsider. એટલે આ ડેફિનેશન લખનાર વ્યક્તિ પણ એ છે કે જે ત્યાં જઈને રહે છે બીજા દેશમાં, એટલે એના માટે નવું છે. So people say that so and so person found America or found India. Well, India was there already, even when they were not aware, or America also was there even before Columbus or Vasco da Gama explored those things. It was already there. It is new only because you were unaware and you were not knowing. It means you were we can say the person who was not knowing, તમને ખબર નહોતી
પણ તમે ડેફિનેશનમાં એને ન્યૂ કરી દીધું, એટલે તમને તો બધી જ ખબર હતી. એ ન્યૂ કરી દીધું, તમને બધી જ પહેલેથી ખબર હતી, તમે એ સ્વીકારતા નથી કે તમને કશી ખબર નહોતી. ડેફિનેશનમાં તમે એ તમારું અજ્ઞાનતા આ રીતે છુપાવી શકો કે અમે તો જ્ઞાની છે જ, એટલે અમે જે બધું પહેલી વખત જોયું એ બધું નવું, એ બધું જ નવું. ભલે તમે વર્ષોથી ત્યાં રહેતા હો, તમારા માટે જૂનો જ દેશ હોય, પણ ના, હવે અમે કહીએ છીએ કે આ નવો દેશ, એટલે આ તારીખે આ વર્ષે નવો દેશ શોધવામાં આવ્યો છે. પછી આપણી રવિવારની પરીક્ષામાં એ પૂછાય કે ભારતની શોધ ક્યારે થઈ હતી, તો આપણે વાસ્કો દી ગામા અને કોલમ્બસ ને તારીખો ગોખી. ભારત તો હતું જ, અમેરિકા પણ હતું જ, even before this day. So that is the problem with this new country idea. And then they say forming a community, and this now it says that what is absent, another part is that when such definitions are made, what is absent from this definition, and that is that there is always an encounter between people, and then there is conquest, and then dominations also. So now this encounter means conflict. Today we use the word encounter. Can anybody tell me when the word encounter comes, what do you remember? Yes, suddenly if somebody is speaking encounter, then what do you remember? Without seeing any dictionary, if that word comes, then what do you feel about that encounter? In which context do you commonly read? Yes, Lata has put in a comment the case of police encountering the criminal, not murder. Niyati has put the word murder, but it will not come in context of, because murder can be of different kinds. What is the proper, that's why I say there is killing of somebody, but murder is more general word. It is all about language. We are here to discuss language. So when we see language, if there is a
even a slight chance of misreading the language that I am speaking, then I have to be very alert. I have to be very alert that, well, this language may be interpreted in this way or that way also. So I have to work on that language. I have to try to clarify. I have to use more words to clarify. So if I say murder, well, murder is of variety of things. But police criminal makes a context clear. Police criminal makes a context clear. So when a criminal is trying to run away from the custody of police, at that time police will have to take some action, and then if the criminal is attacking the police, they will have to fire against that criminal. And in that japa japi is encounter. In that japa japi, somebody is killed. Police also gets injured and the criminal or somebody is killed. That japa japi is encounter. That is called encounter. This. So that is an exact word here in this context. Encounter this. People may say that, well, in an interview you will have to encounter difficult questions. In interview you may have to encounter difficult a question. That also people will say. But now there it is not that japa japi where somebody will die. ત્યાં કઈ બુલેટ લોકો બહાર નહીં કાઢે, ગન બહાર કાઢશે અને બુલેટ નું ફાયરિંગ થશે અને કોઈ મરશે. ત્યાં તો ઇન્ટરવ્યુ પૂછનાર મરશે અથવા ઇન્ટરવ્યુ આપનાર મરશે. આવું ન થાય. ત્યાં આપણે રૂપક વાપરી શકીએ, નોકરી ન મળે એટલે આપણે મરી ગયા કહેવાય. તો એ રીતે આપણું એન્કાઉન્ટર થઈ ગયું એમ કહી શકાય, પણ એ તો રૂપક છે. This encounter, this. So encounter means there is violence. There is violence. There is somebody who is dying. કોઈ એમાં જીતે છે, કોઈ એમાં હારે છે. And when an outsider comes and then they fight with the local natives, there is this conflict. And why normally this European people are winning all these conflicts, these encounters? Because the tribal people who were living in those regions, they were having only the weapons for their protection. Weapons for their protection, that was bow and arrow, or they may have spear, balo hoy, bow arrow hoy. એ પ્રકારના હથિયાર જે હન્ટિંગ કરવા માટે ઉપયોગ કરતા અથવા પ્રાણીઓથી બચવા માટે એનો ઉપયોગ કરતા, એ જ હથિયારો હતા. અને આ લોકો આવ્યા છે તો ગન લઈને આવ્યા છે, ગન પાવડર, ગન, એટલે દૂર ઉભા જે સીધું ફાયર કરે. પેલા આદિવાસી પ્રજાતિના લોકો જંગલમાં રહેતા પાસે તો એનો વિકલ્પ જ ન હોય. So they have to run away. પછી એ ભાગવા માંડે, પછી સમૂહમાં આવીને હુમલો કરે. That kind of things start happening. But in this, there is conquest and domination. પછી જ્યારે જેને પણ હરાવવામાં આવે તેમના ઉપર domination કરવામાં આવે છે. So we get that hegemony, the word hegemony, where you are, one ideology is dominating over the another ideology. So where are these words? These words which are very important to be seen in this context. So suddenly all these words which are very important to be put into the definition of colonialism are removed from that, are removed. And so you have made the definition which looks very innocent definition. And because of that, when you read the history that these are colonizers, it also seems that, well, colonizers are very innocent people. They were new settlers. એ કોઈ આવી જમીનમાં જાય છે, જગ્યા ઉપર જાય ને ત્યાં એક નવી વસાહતની શરૂઆત કરે છે, એ કોલોનાઇઝેશન કહેવાય. બાળકો ડેફિનેશન સ્કૂલમાં ભણતા હોય તો એમને કોઈ એવો મનની અંદર પૂર્વાગ્રહ કોલોનાઇઝર્સ પ્રત્યે ઉત્પન્ન થાય નહીં, કારણ કે ભાષાને તમે ખૂબ જ નિર્દોષ બનાવી દીધી છે. ભાષાને એકદમ નિર્દોષ તમે બનાવી દીધી એટલે તમારી આખી દુનિયા બદલાઈ ગઈ છે. Your entire world has changed because you have changed the language. So that is very important point to be seen here in this context. Language is at the center in this discussion that we have to keep in mind here. Okay, so that was the second point. In between there are lots of writings there, and if you have any question in between that, then you can ask the question also, or in between also, if you have any doubt or question while we are doing that, then also do not hesitate to put your question either in chat or in here coming live also.
Third important point that becomes significant here is third concern of post-colonial criticism is identity. Identity, and this identity is the one which is hybrid identity, or we can say unstable or doubled identity. Yeah, mixed, hybrid, doubled, unstable still to get it. So that is the third concern of post-colonial criticism.
What is so significant in this third one is we can remember this text by W.B. Yeats, Byzantium, Sailing to Byzantium and Byzantium, two poems written by W.B. Yeats, Sailing to Byzantium in 1927 and Byzantium in 1932. So what is this W.B. Yeats? When he is writing about Byzantium, that is Istanbul, he is again a kind of a colonizer who is Eurocentric and trying to look towards East. But at the same time, W.B. Yeats also is an Irish person who is also a colonized identity. And so W.B. Yeats becomes a double identity, is double identity or a hybrid identity. He is a colonized also and a colonizer also. He is a colonized also as well as a colonizer also. So this is very interesting of this aspect to study, that how this plays a vital role. Yet as both colonizer and colonized, and it is the recognition of such double identities which is one of the strengths of post-colonialists' view. Now we also can see that we are also double identity. When we study post-coloniality and we talk in English language, and under English studies we study this, because this is English is master's language. Obviously, we have said that now we have owned this language. This is Indian English. We study Indian English literature. We don't say it is English literature now. Indian English. So we have owned that language and thing. But still, people may question. People who will be those people? People will be from our own country. The people who are from, say, for example, Hindi language, or Gujarati language, or Sanskrit language. Gujarati language still will be more liberal to accept you as an English student. Yeah, hello, are you getting the voice?
Yes, sir.
Yes, are you getting the voice?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yeah, okay, yeah, fine. Yeah, okay. There's the problem with the mic. Yeah. Okay. So when you have a dialogue with like the highly nationalist people who tend to say the thing in this term, or the people who are trying to be nationalistic in terms of language, or very nativist like Sanskrit language. If you have friends who are doing Masters of Arts in Sanskrit or in Hindi or in Gujarati, and if you will have a talk with them, you obviously will sense this, that they look at you in a rather different way, as if you are still those hybrid people. You are the children of Macaulay. You are the one who is responsible for India remaining poor, for India not getting development. That all English people are responsible. That is how the Hindi people will say. They will say that, well, it is the English that is eating away our language. It is killing our language. That will be a huge hue and cry of Hindi people. The Hindi language people will have, the people who study those things, those subjects. Sanskrit obviously will try to go back into a kind of a utopia, which they thought that when Sanskrit was the language of India, everything was civilized, everything was highly cultured, and this is God's language. This is God's language, and English is Satan's language. It is Satan. Gora people are Satan. This is Satan's language. So there is a very interesting essay also, the Saraswati and Satan. Saraswati and Satan. That essay also is there in English language, where people study that the language of Saraswati and the language of Satan. So this all people will see this aspect that we see. So in that context, we find that we are a kind of a hybrid identity also, and we have to fight with that hybrid, unstable, or double identity also. Double identity, and also we have to fight. And so many times what I personally would do is like I would prefer to wear this kurta or jabba instead of coat and tie. So I can give an answer that I am still Indian. A Gujarati person wearing or Hindi person wearing coat and tie will not be a problematic, but because they already are doing a great service to Gujarati language, and by that they are very good people. They are considered as good people who are doing service to their mother language, whereas we are doing service of other language, the big O, the big other. So we have to try to see that, well, we be Indian in one or the another. આપણે કોઈ ને કોઈ રીતે ભારતીય છીએ એની છાપ માટે આપણે કોટ અને ટાઈ ને ન પહેરવી પડે, અથવા આપણે એને બાજુમાં ટીંગાડી રાખવું પડે કોટ અને ટાઈ, પણ બીજા લોકો આસાનીથી પહેરી શકે. Or you have to speak Hindi language when you speak among the people. Public speaking માં કે એમાં તમે જાઓ તો you have to speak Hindi language, so that you say that, well, you don't hate Hindi language, but you have to say that you don't hate Hindi language. And when the other people, the other identities say that, well, I don't know English, they will say with sense of pride also. And a sense of pride થી પણ કે ના અંગ્રેજી નથી આવડતી ને નથી શીખવી, કારણ કે અમે ભારતીય છીએ અને અંગ્રેજી તો એ તો માસ્ટરોની ભાષા હતી. એક વખત આપણે ગુલામ બનાવનાર લોકોની ભાષા, એટલે I don't want to learn. That sense of pride can also be there, and people think that those who study English language, they don't know Hindi language, they don't know Gujarati language, they are away from this culture. That all are the notions which are prevailing, which even people like Gugiwa Thiongo in Decolonizing the Mind also propagated, and many people who only study the school system of international schools, for example, only Ahmedabad or Baroda or Surat, big cities and big schools only if you study, and you see that these all students, they don't know Gujarati language, they don't speak in Gujarati, they all speak in English and those things, and then they say that, well, English is going to kill Hindi, English is going to kill Gujarati. I many times tell them that you go in rural space, don't just see 4 or 5 cities. આ 4-5 મોટા શહેરોને બાદ કરી અને પછીનું ગુજરાત તમે જુઓ તો લગભગ બધા ગુજરાતી માધ્યમમાં જ ભણે છે. All are studying in Gujarati medium. Large number of people are studying in Gujarati medium. પણ એમ કરવાથી કે કઈ બહુ મોટી સેવા થઈ જતી નથી. શું એ બધા નોબેલ પ્રાઇઝ જીતી આવ્યા? એ બધા ગુજરાતી માધ્યમમાં ભણી અને કેટલા નોબેલ વિજેતા, કેટલા ગુજરાતી સાહિત્યકારોએ ગુજરાતીમાં જ આજીવન ભણ્યું સેવા કરી, કેટલા નોબેલ પ્રાઇઝ આવ્યા છે, કેટલી ગુજરાતી ફિલ્મને ઓસ્કાર મળ્યો છે. So how will you judge? Nothing કે તમે talented થઈ જાઓ. Talent is a different thing. This. So that, but you remain hybrid identity. You have to have all these arguments. આ બધી arguments તમારે વિચારી રાખવી પડે. કારણ કે you know that you are Indian. You know that Hindi, Gujarati are your languages, but you are dealing with English language. You are dealing with English literature. So you obviously remain a hybrid, unstable and double identity. A double identity that you obviously remain in this context, and you can't do away with that also. So that is that interesting context that we can see here, and as such everybody becomes double identity in today's time. Everybody becomes double identity or hybrid identity in today's time also, as like we have seen that if you wear a shirt and a trouser or you wear a western clothes, then also you become hybrid identity in a way. Now, answer is not that I should go back to dhoti. The answer is not that. I am happy being hybrid. I don't want to become that pure who wears dhoti. If I am comfortable in dhoti and I wear dhoti, it is okay. But I don't remember that even dhoti was ever my dress. Or dhoti was ever the dress of the people where I belong to. Perhaps it was still not. It was not everybody's way also. Or wearing on the head, pagdi hoy, safo hoy. તો કયા પ્રકારની પગડી, કયા પ્રકારનો સાફો એ તમારો કહેવાય. ભારતમાં તો અલગ અલગ પ્રકારની પગડી અને સાફાઓ છે. ખૂબ જ વેરાયટી ઓફ થિંગ્સ આર obviously there. So how you see this the idea of this identity. So the Nigerian novelist Chinua Achebe published his first novel, Things Fall Apart, in 1958, was criticized by an early reviewer for affecting to identity with African villagers, when actually his university education and his broadcasting job in the capital city of Lagos should make him identify, it was implied, with the values of civilization into inverted comma, and supposedly brought to Africa by Europeans. So this Chinua Achebe also has to face this, that, well, you are not the African about whom you are writing. In Things Fall Apart, a very seminal work, even in postcolonial studies also, a very important text, Things Fall Apart by Chinua Achebe. And you talk about villagers. So people will criticize that, well, you are not a villager, you are studying in university, you are highly educated, you are educated in English medium. So you are obviously now a European. You are not an African. You are European, but he has to face that identity crisis as such also. So this emphasis on identity as doubled or hybrid or unstable is a very important concern of postcolonial approach also. And the fourth one, and the fourth argument here is, and the fourth point in this we can see is about cross-cultural interactions.
this cross-cultural interaction. Fourth and final concern from among the first four important concerns of post-colonial criticism. The fourth important concern is about cross-cultural interactions in this phase here. So in this process, in this idea about cross-cultural interactions, what is important to see here is, remember this three words, the important words here, that is about adopt, adapt, and adapt. Yes, adopt, adapt, and adapt. This three, this makes the phenomenon of the moving from adopting something to adapting and then to become adept in that. Give me the meaning of all these three words also. Look into the dictionary and give me the meaning of all these three words also. Yes, very quickly we will look into dictionary. Yes, if you have got, then please let me know. Yes, now I have put my mic on. Okay, yeah. Okay, I've seen some comments here. Okay, let me read some of the comments. Nidhi has put the comment: adopt, legally take another's child. Now again, give me this meaning in this context, the context in which we are seeing, okay? Because we are doing a post-colonial studies. So in that context, you have to, because there will be so many meanings. Okay, so try to get the meaning in this context. So adoption in terms of children adoption will not be appropriate here. Okay, Pina, Daya, Nidhi. Yeah, okay, fine. Yeah, okay. Let us see one by one. Yeah, one by one. The word. Yes. Can anybody?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, okay. Getting my voice.
Getting my voice? Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, fine. Adopt. Yes. You'll have to speak because I'll not be able to read the comment a little bit far away. Yes. Adopt.
Adopt means choose to take up.
Adopt means to choose to take up. Okay. To choose to take up. For example, if you say this adopt, you take something, some culture, some language. Are you getting my voice?
Yes, sir. Yes.
But I will not be able to listen. Yes, are you getting my voice?
Yes, sir.
But I'm not able to listen. Yeah, that's the problem. Okay, yes, now,
Yes.
but still I'm not getting the voice. Okay, yeah, now I think you are getting the voice. I will get the voice here. Yeah, okay. Yeah, fine. To adopt, okay, so we may adopt a language, we may adopt a language, we can adopt a culture, we choose to take up something as a part of that. So adopt is an easy word to get. So we adopt, in this context we adopt the ways of the masters. Yes. The masters, we adopt their ways. We start obviously with language. Yes. Language, we start and we adopt the language, and with that many other things like in most of these countries that which were colonies once upon a time, they also adopted the form of writing that is novel. Yes, novel, as we know, is very much the genre of literature which belongs to Britain, English traditions, novel. And you will find that the genre of literature is very beautifully adopted by all third world countries or the countries which were once upon a time a colonized country. So, genre. So now you may say that, well, no, not language. I have not adopted the language, but I may have adopted the genre of literature. The genre of literature I might have adopted in that process. So that also is the process of adaptation. You do that. Okay. Then adapt. Adapt means
To become familiar with a new situation and to change your behavior accordingly.
okay, to change something, to change something, to meet requirements, Yes, you change something to meet requirements, or you adjust with something, or you adjust with something, yeah? Or you try to rewrite something in a different way. You adapt it, you rewrite, you adjust to something, you change something to meet the requirements, that is adapt. એટલે કઈ આપણે એને સાનુકૂળ થવું, that process. So when we adopted the language, we start adjusting ourselves with new language. We start adjusting with the new genre of literature also. We start adjusting ourselves. So the novel is adapted in Indian context and in Indian language. So you tell story in novel, but not about the masters or the white world, but you tell the story about our own people in our own language also. So that is the process of adaptation. So we are adapting that, or we are adjusting with this new change also. And then last and final is adapt. Yes, adapt means?
Adept means very skilled or proficient at something.
Yes, skilled. Very skilled or professional kind of a thing. Very proficient. Very proficient in things. Very proficient in this. Okay. So the process of this, the fourth phase in post-colonial criticism, cross-cultural interactions. What happens in this cross-cultural interactions is this, that we adopt to the other culture, to the outsiders. Then we adapt, we adopt their ways. We adapt to that, we adjust ourselves to the new condition, new cultural condition, new literary condition. Everywhere we adjust ourselves, we make a necessary requirement to change. And then we become master of those things. And then we become skilled master, or we become very proficient in those things also. So this is this is the way that the cross-cultural interactions can be understood. That what are the concerns. So again, to repeat, first phase of coloniality, cultural mixing, you adopt. You choose to take. Now at that phase, we can say that everybody is not choosing to adopt the ways of an outsider, but few of them will be ready to adopt. Few will be ready to adopt. All will not be ready to adopt to the new ways of doing, or new culture or new people. But few will start working or doing the things. And then there is the phase of adjusting with those also. So even if you will think that if some another people come in our neighborhood, new people, and if these people are coming from, say, for example, Bengal, West Bengal, India only, we're not talking about outside India, but they are coming from West Bengal and living in your neighborhood. And if they start cooking fish, what are we going to do? If they cook fish, which is a normal food in a Bengali family, so what we will do, either we will resist or we will adapt. Now that all will depend again upon who is more powerful in that relation. એ સંબંધમાં એ લોકો એ જે પાડોશમાં આવ્યા છે એ કલેક્ટર હોય ભાવનગરના અને આવ્યા હોય, અને પછી તો એ જે ખાતા હોય બધું ચાલે, કારણ કે તો કલેક્ટરને તમે ન રોકી શકો, અથવા બહુ મોટા પોલીસ અધિકારી હોય, પણ જો મજદૂર આવ્યો હોય બંગાળથી અને એ જો આવું કંઈક રાંધવા જાય તો આપણે કાઢી મૂકીએ, તો એમણે આપણી સાથે એડેપ્ટ થવું પડે. વોટ એવર વી ઈટ એ મજૂરે ખાવું પડે, પણ બહુ મોટા અધિકારી બંગાળથી આવ્યા હોય તો પછી એની સાથે આપણે એડેપ્ટ થવું પડે. So this is again power. That is where Michel Foucault is very important. Michel Foucault આ power relations બતાવે છે, જે આપણે cultural studies માં આપણે જોશું. Cultural studies, in that we will see that what is this process. Now when this white masters are coming from outside, obviously they are coming as a power, એક power તરીકે આવે છે. એટલે પહેલા એ આપણે ત્યાં આવે એટલે પહેલા આપણે પ્રદેશના રાજા મહારાજાને કબજામાં કરે, એમની સાથે વાટાઘાટા કરે કે તમારા દુશ્મન જે રાજ્યો છે આજુબાજુના એ તમારી ઉપર હુમલાની તૈયારી કરે છે, પણ અમે હુમલો રોકી શકીએ, પણ તમારે ટેક્સ અમને આપવાનો, તમારે એનો ટેક્સ અમને લગાન ચૂકવવાનું. લગાન ફિલ્મ
if you have seen film Lagan? Yeah. Everybody, because that is also your task. Lagan and Rang De Basanti. Both these films are very interesting from post-colonial angle. So it will be your task also. So you can make presentations also on that, or you can make a blog activity on this also. So when you see, so if you have not seen these two films, Lagan or Rang De Basanti, then see that. That is very interesting to watch. But obviously then apart from that, English Winglish or Queen or even Namaste London or Purab or Paschim by old film by Manoj Kumar. So anywhere there is this cross-cultural interrelations. કોઈ એવી film કે જેમાં NRI હોય, ભારતના લોકો હોય, પશ્ચિમના લોકો હોય, એ બધાની film હોય તો that is very interesting. You will also see, તમને એમાં જોવા મળશે કે આપણે crossover film મારે જોવી છે. પણ મારે crossover film માં આફ્રિકાના લોકો પણ જોવા છે મારી ફિલ્મમાં. તો લગભગ ક્યાંય જોવા નહીં મળે. બહુ absent છે. There is absent. It will be very difficult. જેટલી રીતે પાકિસ્તાન આપણી ફિલ્મોમાં છે એવું શ્રીલંકા પણ નથી મળતું. શ્રીલંકા ઉપરની ફિલ્મ કે સાહિત્ય તમારે વાંચવું હોય તો તમારે બહુ મહેનત કરવી પડે કે શ્રીલંકા ક્યાં શોધવું આપણી ફિલ્મોમાં. નેપાળ ક્યાં છે, ભૂતાન, આપણી આજુબાજુના દેશો જેટલા પાકિસ્તાન આપણા ઉપર હાવી છે એટલા બીજા નથી. ચાઇના પણ બહુ ઓછું આવે છે. ચાઇના in our narration how it keeps on resurfacing. But when you will see this, પણ ચલો પેલા આફ્રિકન્સ જોવા નહીં મળે કે બીજા પ્રજાતિ ન જોવા મળે, પણ ગોરાઓ જોવા મળશે. So that you can see wherever these interactions are happening, and then what our filmmakers are doing, what all our writers are doing. I think in Ghare Bahir also, Rabindranath Tagore's Ghare Bahir, the world and the home, or the home and the world. Yeah? In that also you will see. Gora also is an interesting novel by Rabindranath Tagore. Gora also. Now see, હવે હું તમને કહું કે ગોરાઈ વાંચો, ઘરે બહાર વાંચો, એ તો તમે નહીં વાંચી શકો. પણ રંગ દે બસંતી તો જોઈ શકો, લગાન તો જોઈ શકો. એ તો 5-6 કલાકમાં પૂરું થઈ જાય અને પાછી મજાય આવે. નાચતા ગાતા હોય લોકો, ડાન્સ કરતા હોય, પેલા આપણા ચાહેતા હીરો હોય, આમિર ખાન હોય, તો મજા પણ આવે. પેલામાં ઘરે બહાર ને ગોરામાં માથું પછાડીને 2 મહિને પૂરી થાય. ત્યાં તો આપણી સેમેસ્ટર 3ની પરીક્ષા આવી ગઈ હોય, આપણે ઘરે બહાર જ કરતા રહ્યા હોય. તો એટલીસ્ટ એ બધું કરો તો સારું, પણ એ નહીં થઈ શકે. પણ આ તો થઈ શકે એટલે આટલી અપેક્ષા હોય. પછી હવે આમાં તમે બાનું શોધો કે મારે તો આ જોવાનો ટાઈમ નથી, તો વાંચો. જોવાનો ટાઈમ ન હોય તો વાંચો. તો વાંચવાનો સમય કાઢો, કંઈક તો કરવું પડે. આપણે ભણીએ છીએ, we are studying, એટલે પછી છટકીને બધેથી છટકીને કેમ ભાગવું? વાંચવાનું કહે તો વાંચે પણ નહીં, જોવાનું કહે તો જોયે પણ નહીં, તો પછી આપણે ભણવું શું કામ? then why should we study? એટલે વિદ્યાર્થી વાંચતા બહુ નથી એટલે જોવાનો વિકલ્પ આપણે આપીએ કે આ વેબ સિરીઝ જુઓ, આ ફિલ્મ જુઓ. કારણ કે વાંચતા નથી, એટલે વાંચતા હો તો વાંચવાનું મટીરિયલ આપી આપણે કે આ બુક વાંચો, પેલી વાંચો, બધું હવે ઓનલાઈન મળે છે. આપણે કેટલા બધા રેફરન્સ લીધા આજે, એ બધા વાંચી શકાય. that all can be read also. પણ એ બહુ અઘરી વસ્તુ છે. એટલે આપણે ફિલ્મો તો જોઈ લઈએ એટલે અત્યાર પૂરતું આપણું કામ ચાલે. વસ્તુ સમજવામાં આપણને સહેલાઈ પડે. So that's why it is to be seen. You have to watch or you have to read. Otherwise it will be very limited. બહુ લિમિટેડમાં પછી આપણે જે વાત કરશું એમાં થોડી શેલોનેસ આવી જાય, ડેપ્થ નહીં આવે આપણી વાતમાં. પેલા છબછબિયા કરતા હોય તેવું લાગે. અને આ બધા વિષય પોસ્ટ કોલોનિયલ સ્ટડીઝ હોય કે this કલ્ચરલ સ્ટડીઝ હોય, એમાં જેટલું વાઇડર અને ડીપર અન્ડરસ્ટેન્ડિંગ અને વાઇડર એક્ઝામ્પલ્સ જે સાંપ્રત જીવનમાંથી, જૂના સમયમાંથી જેટલા હશે એટલી વધુ મજા આવશે, એટલી વધુ આપણે વાતને બીજાને કરવા માટે કન્વિન્સિંગલી કરી શકાશે. So cross cultural, in this how people adopt, then they adjust with those things, how they adjust with those new conditions which are arisen. So you will see that when અંગ્રેજોએ રાજ કરવાનું શરૂ કર્યા પછી એમણે નોકરી આપવાની શરૂ કરી. આપણને કીધું કે નોકરીએ તમને રાખશું, પણ તમારે આટલું તૈયારી કરવાની. તમારે હેન્ડ રાઇટિંગ સારા હોવા જોઈએ. હેન્ડ રાઇટિંગ 3 R, રિથમેટિક એટલે એરિથમેટિક એટલે ગણિત. તમારું ગણતરી, કારણ કે ત્યારે કેલ્ક્યુલેટર નહોતા.
એટલે ગણતરી તમને બરાબર કરતા આવડે, એરિથમેટિક. એટલે પેલા ટેબલ્સ પાકા કરી રાખો, જલ્દી ટેબલ્સ પાકા કરી લો એટલે તમને નોકરીએ રાખી શકાય. ટેબલ્સ પાકા કરવાના, 1 1 જા 1, 1 2 જા 2, પહાડા જેને આપણે કહીએ તે. બીજા તમારે હેન્ડ રાઇટિંગ સારા હોય, કારણ કે તમારા જે લક્ષો એ છે કે અમારા માસ્ટર ઇંગ્લેન્ડમાં બેઠા એને વાંચવાનું છે, એટલે તમારે ગરબડિયા અક્ષર નહીં ચાલે. ગરબડિયા અક્ષરે લખશો તો કોઈ નહીં વાંચે, એટલે છેક ત્યાં વાંચી શકાય, એટલે સારા હેન્ડ રાઇટિંગ. એન્ડ થર્ડ આર ઇઝ રીડિંગ સ્કિલ. તમારી રીડિંગ સ્કિલ સારી હોવી જોઈએ, ફટાફટ વાંચી શકો, સમજી શકો. અંગ્રેજીમાં રીડિંગ સ્કિલ, ઇંગ્લિશમાં રાઇટિંગ વિથ ગુડ હેન્ડ રાઇટિંગ, એન્ડ ધીસ વેર વેરી નેસેસરી કન્ડિશન્સ. હવે કદાચ આજે પણ આપણને એમ થશે કે આપણે જયારે પરીક્ષાની વાત કરતા હોય ત્યારે એમ કહેતા હોય કે ભાઈ હેન્ડ રાઇટિંગ તમારા સારા હોવા જોઈએ, એટલે એમ લાગે કે હજી તો આપણે એમ લાગે કે કોલોનિયલ સમયમાં જીવીએ છીએ, હજી હેન્ડ રાઇટિંગ. હવે તો બધું ટાઈપ રાઇટિંગ આવી ગયું છે, ટાઈપ રાઇટિંગનો વિકલ્પ ક્યારે આપશો, કે હજી હેન્ડ રાઇટિંગ કામની જગ્યા ઉપર તો ક્યાંય હેન્ડ રાઇટિંગ નથી, તો શું કામે રાખ્યું છે, વાય ઇટ ઇઝ ધેર. આ કોલોનિયલ છે આ બધું. એટલે જયારે આપણે પોસ્ટ કોલોનિયલ વિચારતા હોય ત્યારે ખાલી ફક્ત વસ્ત્રોમાં ને ભોજનમાં ન રહી અને આ બધી વસ્તુ પણ જોવી પડે કે શું આપણે હવે આજના વિદ્યાર્થીઓને એવો વિકલ્પ આપી શકાય કે તમે તમારે હેન્ડ રાઇટિંગ ખરાબ છે તો તમે ટાઈપ કરીને જવાબ આપો તો પણ ચાલશે. ટાઈપ આન્સર that can be given or not, અને આપવો હોય તો શું કરવું જોઈએ, what kind of things are there. અને ટેબલ્સ પાકા કરવાની હવે કેટલી જરૂરિયાત છે. બાળકોને ટેબલ્સ યાદ ન રહેતા હોય તો આપણે એમ કહીએ કે આ થોટ છે, આ બાળક થોટ છે ને આટલા ટેબલ યાદ નથી, અને 19 ના ને 24 ના ને 29 ના ને એવા ટેબલ કોઈ પૂછે તો બહુ અઘરું પડે. એટલે આપણે 5 10 15 20 એવા પૂછો તો મજા આવે, 11 નો પૂછી લો તોય ચાલે, પણ પછી 8 ને 9 ના નહીં પૂછવાના, 19 ને 18 ના ટેબલ લેવા નહીં પૂછવાના અઘરા. એના માટે કેલ્ક્યુલેટર છે, કેલ્ક્યુલેટર કામ કરશે. જો નાનકડું કેલ્ક્યુલેટર કામ કરી લેતું હોય તો મારે મારા મગજને શું કામ બર્ડન કરવું? Why should I burden my mind with that? This is also decolonizing at different level. કે એ બધી મેમરી ક્યાં સુધી જરૂરી છે? આજે આખી મેમરીની વાત જ હવે ડીકોલોનાઇઝ થઈ ગઈ છે. હવે મેમરી કોની પાસે ચાલી ગઈ તો કે ડિવાઇસીસ પાસે ચાલી ગઈ છે. આપણે મેમરી સ્ટિક કહીએ, હાર્ડ ડિસ્ક હોય તો એ મેમરીનું કામ કરે. આપણો મોબાઈલ ફોન એ મેમરી રાખવાની છે. આપણે મોબાઈલ ફોન લઈએ ત્યારે પૂછીએ કે કેટલી મેમરી છે. વિદ્યાર્થી એમ એડમિશન લેવા આવે ત્યારે એમ ન પૂછે કે કેટલી મેમરી છે તમારે, કેટલું યાદ રહેશે. આટલા જીબી મેમરી હોય તો તમને એમ એડમિશન આપીએ, નહીતર પછી પાછા તમે ભૂલી જશો બધું, તો તમને એડમિશન નહીં આપી શકીએ. એટલે કેટલી મેમરી કોનું કામ છે? વસ્તુઓનું કામ છે. વ્યક્તિઓમાં શું જોઈએ? થિંકિંગ જોઈએ, ઇનોવેટિવ થિંકિંગ, ડાયવર્જન્ટ થિંકિંગ, critical thinking, ability to think, not ability to remember, but ability to think is more important in that context also. So they wanted this way you do, and many people were preparing for those exams. પછી એ લોકો નોકરીએ પણ રાખતા અને ઘણા બધા આપણા લોકો કામ કરતા પણ હતા. એ એમને અનુકૂળ પણ થઈ ગયેલા હતા, અને એટલે જ આપણે ત્યાં ખૂબ જ ગરમી હોય તોય આપણે એની જેમ કોટ પહેરીને ફરતા. પછી અંગ્રેજી બાબુ બનવા માટે પછી આપણે કોટ પહેરીને ફરીએ. અને હજી એ બાબુઓ તમે જોશો રેલવેમાં ટીસી આવશે, એટલી બધી ગરમી હોય તો એને કોટ પહેરવાનો જ ફરજિયાત. વકીલ થવું હોય, તમે લો કોલેજમાં ભણતા હો તો કાળો કોટ પહેરવાનો ફરજિયાત. પણ હવે એ લોકો તો ઠંડા પ્રદેશમાંથી આવતા હતા એટલે એ લોકોને કોટ પહેરવો પડે. આપણે ગરમ પ્રદેશમાં હજી પણ ચાલુ રાખ્યું કે તમારે કોટ પહેરવાનો જ. ટીસી હોય રેલવેના તો પણ ગરમીમાં કોટ પહેરીને ફરતા હોય. That also is there. પણ we started, આપણે આપણી જાતને એની સાથે એડેપ્ટ કરવાનું શરૂ કરી દીધું. We started adapting, and then we started mastering those things also. First thing was that we mastered English language also. આપણે અંગ્રેજી ભાષા માસ્ટર પણ કરી, આપણે એકદમ સ્કિલ્ડ થઈ ગયા અંગ્રેજી ભાષામાં. લેંગ્વેજ ઇઝ એટ ધ સેન્ટર. પછી બીજી બધી બાબતો, અને લેંગ્વેજમાં આપણે માસ્ટર થયા પછી આપણે આપણા માસ્ટરની સામે ગુરકિયા કરતા પણ થયા. પેલા ડાઘિયો કૂતરો એમના માસ્ટરની ભાષા શીખી જાય પછી સામો ગુરકિયા કરવા માંડે, સામે વડકા ભરવા માંડે. પછી પેલા કે મેરી બિલ્લી મુજે મ્યાઉ, પણ આ બિલ્લી નથી, હવે તો આ ડાઘિયો કૂતરો થઈ ગયો. પછી આપણે ત્યાં આવે અંગ્રેજીમાં ભણેલા લોકો, સ્વામી વિવેકાનંદ હોય, શ્રી અરવિંદો હોય, મહાત્મા ગાંધી હોય, નહેરુ હોય, સરદાર પટેલ હોય, અથવા એ બધા જ Raja Ram Mohan Roy, all those people who studied in English language, they became very skilled in English language,
very skilled, and now they started arguing with them in English language, and now they started telling કે હવે તમે અહીંથી જાઓ, હવે તમે અહીંથી જાઓ, હવે અમે રાજ કરી લેશું, અમે હવે સ્કિલ્ડ થઈ ગયા છીએ, અમે હવે પ્રોફિશિયન્ટ થઈ ગયા છે અમારા દેશને સાચવવા માટે, હવે એમને કાઢવાની આપણે શરૂઆત કરી છે, અને પછી દલીલો એની સાથે અંગ્રેજી ભાષામાં પણ કરીએ છીએ, એ પછી પહોંચી શકતા નથી એમાં. That was political dynamics. એ જ રીતે પછી જ્યારે સાહિત્યની વાત આવે તો સાહિત્યમાં પણ આપણે 1970s કે 80s આવતા આવતા આપણી નવી પેઢીએ અંગ્રેજી ભાષામાં સાહિત્ય લેવલે પણ પ્રભુત્વ મેળવી લે છે. They start empowering that, and they now started competing those people in awards like Man Booker Prize and other awards. એમાં એની સાથે compete કરવાનું પણ શરૂ કરી દીધું છે, અને એ લોકો બોલી શકે એના કરતા બહુ સારી રીતે બોલવા પણ માંડ્યા છે, દલીલો પણ કરવા માંડ્યા છે, and thinking capacity in that language also they started developing. So as a part of that, you will also watch this interviews of Shashi Tharoor, જેની book છે the era of darkness, એના ઉપર તમને એક ટાસ્ક આવશે, તો ત્યારે તમને ઇન્ટરવ્યુ જોવા માટેનો એક ટાસ્ક પણ હશે કે you have to watch interviews, and then you will see that how Shashi Tharoor kind of people, they would argue in English language also, that is skilled, proficient, how they all have become also. So cross-cultural interaction happen in this way. First you adopt, પેલા ફરજિયાત તમારે એને અનુકૂળ થવું પડે, પછી તમે એની સાથે સ્કિલ્ડ થઈ જાઓ એ બધી બાબતો સાથે, અને તમે એની માસ્ટરી પણ મેળવી લો છો. So cross-cultural, that is the fourth important aspect, that how these all things are happening in our cultures, that becomes very important to study in this context also. So four concerns of post-colonial criticism: undermining the universalist claim, universalism, there is nothing like universalism. Then language is at the center, everything is questioned around language. Then identity, hybrid, unstable identity, and cross-cultural interactions, where this process from adept to adept, that is very important to be kept in mind here. Any questions or any other things to be added here? Anything that you have read here, and if you have any questions, anything that we have missed out, and you still have a question, you can ask your question. Yes, anybody would like to ask any question, or anything you want to add, want to clarify anything, that this is how you understand, is this okay or not? Yes, anybody, any questions, anything to add into this, anything to verify with your understanding, that this is how you understand and whether it is okay or not? Okay, so if there are no questions, then let us take a small break here.